Hey folks, I'm Jack Fossett, and welcome to this demo and review of the Recording King Rattlesnake Resonator guitar. Now this is the RR41EVS model, and the E of course stands for electric. This one has a Fishman Nashville pickup built in. And this is a great resonator guitar. I'm really enjoying it. I think it's a lot of guitar for the money, and it's got some benefits and everything. It plays really nicely, and so I want to talk a little bit about the features, a little bit about my response to it. So this has an open pedestal style soundwell. It has a mahogany body and a biscuit bridge. It has a hand-spun European Recording King cone, a paddock fingerboard, and I apologize if I'm pronouncing that wrong, and it has cream binding. It has a nice gloss finish. It has a nice comfortable neck, and it has the open gear tuners with the pearloid headstock and everything, and it comes in this kind of vintage style sunburst finish. Of course it has the F-holes here, and it's a really lovely resonator guitar. Again, I think it's a lot of guitar for the money. I think Recording King is putting out some really cool guitars that aren't very expensive, but that are much higher quality than what their price tag would suggest. Now Recording King is a much older brand that has been revived, and I think they're doing some cool stuff with it, again honoring the legacy of the name and honoring the brand, and doing so in a way that's accessible to a lot of players. Now this one is really cool for a number of reasons. Number one, it's a high quality and expensive resonator, so right there, that's kind of exciting. The fact that it has a built-in pickup, the pickup is optional, but the fact that you can get it with a built-in pickup for a reasonable price, to me, is exceptionally good, because that means this can be used for performance as much as recording. I think a resonator is a great guitar to have for a number of reasons. The first being, obviously, it kind of lends itself to being played differently than a standard guitar. They do kind of call for open tunings and slide playing, and if you're not into that, that's something that can expand your musical palette as a guitar player. It can kind of push you in different directions. However, the fact that it has the pickup built in, what is really cool about that is, I think the thing that a lot of people forget about resonator guitars is they are in fact guitars. You can play this like a regular guitar. What I think is really cool with something like this, something accessible for a reasonable price that has a built-in pickup that you can take to a show, is this can just instantly spice up your tonal palette if you're going out and playing live. If you're not really getting into the open tunings and the slide playing, but you just want a different flavor of guitar tone, you want something a little different, maybe you do something Americana style, you can just tune this up like a regular guitar and take it out to a gig, and instantly the songs that you're playing have a little bit more flair to them, because people don't expect to see these as much. Even as they've gotten more popular in recent years, it seems they've kind of been on the verge of sort of making, I want to say, making a comeback. They've certainly always been around, but resonators have seemed to pick up in some popularity again lately. But even so, they're still not nearly as seen as just a regular standard guitar. So just think about, play your normal set on this, standard tuning and everything, and all of a sudden your set is different and has a different liveliness to it, and has kind of, again, an old Americana vibe to it that it might not have had before. It's certainly going to catch eyes, and I sometimes mean that literally, because you could actually reflect the light into people's eyes, which can be. I went to see Mark Knopfler last summer, and now Mark Knopfler is using wood resonators instead of the full metal body resonators like he used to. And my friend who had seen Knopfler a bunch of times before me said, it's too bad, because you've never really been to a Knopfler show until you're enjoying Romeo and Juliet, and suddenly you get blinded by the all-metal guitar. I missed out on that opportunity, but I can appreciate how you can really catch people's eye with this. Tonally, it has a nice, even response. It's not the loudest thing in the world, but it's not quiet. Being mahogany, it's a little bit warmer and has a little bit more mid-range, and you can really feel, You can really feel that ring out. It has a nice kind of blend of the woody tone with the metallic sustain. And, you know, of course, resonators, and to me, a resonator is kind of like a cross between a guitar and a banjo in a lot of ways. It's like it's got that banjo twanginess, but in the deeper, more resonant style of a guitar. And of course, because it's, you know, 6 strings, but it's a great kind of, you know, blend between those two instruments. Just sounds nice. Again, it has that kind of plucky, it's not twangy, but it's metallically resonant. Again, it's got that kind of banjo thing going on, but with more depth to it, with more bass end, and of course with more strings and everything. And it's a very, very pleasant sounding instrument. It almost feels like a time machine in a way, kind of the way it takes you back. This one also, I found, when you kind of dig in, has sort of a lower mid growl to it, which could be kind of cool for some Americana bluesy type stuff. It's a little bit of a grittier sound to it almost. If you just kind of play lightly, it didn't quite get that as much, but when I really, really laid into it, it kind of had that sort of low rumble to it. Now, the pickup pleasantly surprised me, because one of the things that I wondered about this is, okay, so this has a pickup, but when I plug it in, is it going to still sound like a resonator? Because acoustic pickups overall do not impress me. Barely at all. In fact, you know, that's been one of my struggles as a guitar player, is trying to find an acoustic guitar pickup and amplifier solution where it makes my guitar sound good. Not necessarily even, I've kind of given up on them sounding as good as they sound in person, because of course, you know, when you have an acoustic guitar, it just sounds so lively and beautiful and organic when you're in the room playing with it, and plugging it into something, it loses a lot of that. Now, there are some better options than others, and I've kind of, again, really searched for a good solution. So my big question with this one was, is it still going to sound good, and is it going to still sound like a resonator when you plug it in? Because there are a lot of pickups out there that really all you're getting is the sound of kind of the strings, and it's just this sort of flat, awful sound of the guitar strings. And I wondered, okay, so this looks great, but like, will it just sound kind of like that same flatness of just the strings playing and lose all that metallic sort of goodness? And I didn't find that. I did think that it retained that kind of resonator character plugged in. Now, for this demo, you're hearing it in 2 different ways: playing it mic'd acoustically, and also playing it plugged into a Boss acoustic singer live, playing straight into that. Now, that is a really, really good acoustic amp in my opinion, that has an acoustic resonance switch on it that I'm using, that is one of the most lifelike kind of acoustic representations that works well with a lot of different pickups. So keep that in mind. This is a really good representation of the pickup. The pickup is going to sound different depending on what you plug it into, but this is what I use for performance. The Acoustic Singer Live is a great acoustic amplifier. What I personally use, I definitely would recommend it and everything, so just keep that in mind. It could sound different if you're plugging it directly into a PA, and I want to give you the representation of what I use, how I would actually use it, and with something that in my opinion is pretty good. Now, the other thing for this demo is I am going to play a combination of slide and standard playing, and do it in a combination of tunings. Right now it's an open G, and you've already heard some in open G, because again, I want to show kind of just how it can give you some different ideas, how it can push you in different directions playing wise if you decide to go with the open tuning idea, playing with slide, or just playing it like it's a regular guitar. Think of it as something other than something totally different that maybe you shouldn't be getting. Think of it as something that's way more reasonable to get, because again, I think it can really liven up your set. So let's get back to some more playing. Let us know in the comments, do you play resonator guitars? How do you play them? Have you tried any Recording King resonator guitars? Let us know what you think of this one. I'm Jack Fossett. Please remember to like, share, and subscribe, and I hope you enjoy the rest of the video.